Hello, welcome back to the kitchen. Here we are at our New Hanover County PSA and Performance Wellness Team Nutrition installment. We're doing our winter episode, and I think the last one was our soup season episode, and we're going to continue with that, and we're going to be doing a chili today. And fortunately, for all the people that have remarked on how I'm very pro-vegetable today, we are featuring steak. So we've got some beautiful sirloin here we're going to be cutting up. We're going to be doing a sirloin and black bean chili. So I've gone ahead and prepped, and the very most important part to our prep was our jalapenos. I've got 5 jalapenos here, and it's very important that you use rubber gloves when you're prepping your jalapenos. It comes in, that's a good safety tip right there, so that you don't end up with burning eyes and things like that, because the oil or the spice and the active ingredient in a jalapeno pepper will transfer to your hands, and then you can touch your eyes, your face, or whatever, and then you're going to be burning all over, so you don't want that. We also don't want to get the seeds in there, so it's important to prep that. So, like I said, black beans. We got our black beans, our sirloin. We're going to have the usual suspects of our garlic and our onion. I've got a little red onion here for garnish afterwards. It's pretty simple. Like I said, the jalapenos, we're going to do it in a beef stock. Our soup was done in a chicken stock. We are doing the chili with a beef stock. Got a little olive oil here. And the only really special ingredient we have our cumin, our cayenne pepper, our chili powder. We have white pepper, which I went ahead and mashed up at home in the mortar and pestle, because we don't really have a grinder here at the house for white pepper. So that's going to be a little bit different flavor. And then also a masa harina, which is... it's usually for Spanish foods. They use it to make tortillas. It's an ingredient. It's really cheap. You can find it at regular grocery store, but we are going to add a little bit of that into the mix, and I'll show you that when we get to that step. So all I'm going to do right now is we're cutting up our steak into like 1/2-inch cubes, and we're going to do it in batches. We're going to brown it in batches in the olive oil. And then the rest of it just goes together pretty simple, just like a regular chili. This is not a tomato-based chili, so it's not got a red sauce. Like I said, it's going to be just in beef stock, and if we need to, we might add a little bit of water to it later on, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So thanks again for joining us. It's been a lot of fun doing this every month. We wanted to give you a little safety tip as well as some of the nutrition highlights that we are featuring. If you, I prepped all this by hand. Make sure that you check the power cords and cables every once in a while. Make sure they're not frayed. You don't want it by the sink for obvious reasons, electrocution and things like that. And also, it's a good practice to keep them unplugged and pull the blades out when you're washing them or when they're not in use, so that they don't get turned on accidentally. So, we'll sit right back, relax. We're going to put together the chili. We'll be back in a minute after I get done chopping this up, and I'll show you where we start when we're browning it, okay? Be right back. Okay, so I've got the meat all chopped up in like 1/2-inch little cubes. We're going to brown it in the oil. I got about 1/3 cup of olive oil on a moderate heat. We're just going to move them around, brown them up. We're going to do them in batches. You see, I got a slotted spoon here because I'm going to take them out and try and retain that fat and the oil mixture that we're going to get off of the sirloin to start us as a base. And then after we do that, we will add our onion. We've got one pretty good size yellow onion. I've got 2 tablespoons of garlic, and then we're going to put our chopped 5 jalapeno peppers in there, and we'll saute that in the reserved oil and fats. So again, when you're chopping up your jalapenos, make sure you get rid of the seeds and the membranes. Take off the stem, of course, and then chop it up. I did it by hand, and if you do it by hand, you will want to have some gloves on. It's very helpful. If you can't do that, just make sure you wash your hands after handling and chopping up the jalapenos, and wash your cutting board and your utensils pretty good right after doing so before you do anything else, because you will end up spreading that spice around and you can end up with a unpleasant surprise. So see, we're just going to brown them, make sure we're getting them. They will cook for about 45 minutes once we get the broth in. So you don't have to cook them all the way through. We just want to brown them and kind of seal the juices in. And then we'll take them out of the oil like I'm doing here. I'm going to reserve that oil, and we'll just place them over here on a plate to dry and drain. And we'll just do this in little batches. I've got a big hunk of fat in there that I cut off of the sirloin as we were chopping it up. And I'm just going to let that stay in there and reduce and add flavor. My dad would be proud. So I know that most everybody has remarked that I have been very heavy on the veggie. And it's because most of the guys in the firehouse are already pretty well versed in cooking steak. They usually grill it. Pretty simple meat and potatoes kind of menus. So we started this program from the health and wellness viewpoint of adding more vegetables into their diets, and that's kind of where we started with that. But I thought, since it is the holiday season and you want to indulge yourself, I do recommend that using portion control is the best way to enjoy your holiday meals. And we want you to have that family time, those meals, that the turkey and the stuffing and the ham and the mashed potatoes and all that sort of thing. Definitely want to indulge in that, because it does make the holiday complete in this time of year. It wouldn't be the same without those types of meals. So it's not veggie all the time. So I thought that I would do this for the special holiday edition, is to show these guys another way they can do their steak and make it holiday centric, or at least if we're the soup season and the chili season, when it's cold outside, you want a nice hearty meal, something to warm you up, and that's where our jalapenos come in. So we're going to put some spice in this thing. So that's all we're doing, just browning in batches, moderate heat in the oil. And once we get this finished, we'll bring you back and I'll show you when we add the onions and vegetables to saute. All right, so we've browned our meat, our sirloin. We've got the vegetables. We're going to saute them in the oil. And I just wanted to show you here how the color has changed to the oil. We've got a lot of that fat and the juices from the steak in there, which is going to help us keep that flavor profile going strong. So we're going to add the onion. Again, it's about 2 cups. Put that in there. Got a couple of tablespoons of garlic. Put that in there. Make sure we get all of our garlic in there, because we really want to have that flavor. Wouldn't be the same without it. And the jalapenos. So in you go. There's the spice. So we're going to saute this for just a few minutes. Let that soak up the oil, the fat, the juices from the sirloin. I'll let that simmer down. Looks like we got just enough juice in there to simmer this nicely. So probably let it sit for a minute. I got a decent amount of moderate heat on there. I'll show this to you again. I'll make sure safety first, right? So just enough to get that coated. We'll let that sit on the heat. Let that reduce soften the onions and the peppers. All right, so I brought this from home because it's usually in a big container like you would buy flour or sugar, the masa harina. Again, you'll find it in the international food section, usually used in Latin dishes and things like that. So this recipe calls for the masa harina to go in with our vegetables. So I'll show you real quick. It acts kind of like a flour. It thickens everything up. And then it just adds a little more texture, consistency. It changes the dynamic of the dish quite a bit. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my spices and see what my measurements are real quick as I refer to my notes. So we've got half a teaspoon of the white pepper. Again, this is another little bit different ingredient, completely different flavor than regular black pepper. So if you've never used white pepper before, I recommend if your recipe calls for white pepper, that's exactly what you're going to want to use. So we got a half a teaspoon of that, half a teaspoon of the cumin. A little extra in there. I like the cumin. Then we've got half a teaspoon of the cayenne. And of course, you can trim this back if spice is not your favorite thing. You can trim it back, use a little bit less jalapeno, a little bit less of the cayenne pepper. And then, where are we? Plus 1 teaspoon. So I got a third of a cup plus 1 teaspoon of the chili powder, a good bit of that. So we'll go ahead and put our 1 teaspoon in. And then we'll get a third of a cup. Add that in. So that's a good bit of the chili powder. I think we're going to end up using all of this. There we go. All right, I got it. So that's a good bit for your seasonings. This makes this a very flavorful dish. So we basically keep this going for about 5 minutes, and it's going to cause a very thick mixture as those veggies and that oil soaks up all of that seasoning. I'll stir it up. I'll show you real quick what we're looking at here. So a super thick mixture, and there you go. So that's gonna simmer for about 5 minutes, and then we'll add the broth. So we'll be right back. We're gonna add the steak back into the mix. See if I can do this without making too much of a mess. I went a little heavy on the steak, since I know the boys will like it. Get this mixed up. She's looking like a chili. All right, so once we get that back in there, we've got all of our seasonings. You can see, I'll show you real quick what we're looking at there. So we've got a nice color. And then all that steak and those seasonings in there. So it's super duper flavorful. And we'll simmer it for about 45 minutes. You know, normal prep time for a chili is about an hour or more, depending on, you know, your slow cooking. So this one's going to be close to an hour. And then we'll throw our 45 minutes, then we'll put our beans in and finish it up with the last 15 minutes. And then we are ready. So we'll go do some laundry and some other chores around the fire station. We'll be back in about 45. Okay, so we have let this simmer, and as you can see, we're still got a nice color. It's very thick. We're gonna add the beans. So for the last 15 minutes, we'll mix the beans and the steak in with our vegetables. And the only thing I did not do or add into this, which I would highly recommend, is some cornbread, which usually accompanies a good chili. But there you have it. So we will let that cook for about another 15 minutes. Probably take a taste test. As you can see, it's a nice hearty mix, thick, rich, very flavorful, lots of spices. It's gonna have some good heat to it. It'll keep you warm on these cold winter nights. So we'll let it cook down 15 minutes. We'll come back. I'll plate some up for you so you can take a look at it in a bowl. We'll garnish it with some cheddar, some little red onion, and a dollop of sour cream. So we'll be back. All right, mission complete. We've got our plating over here. Here, I'll bring it over to the camera so you can see what we did. I put a little cheddar cheese on it, a little dollop of sour cream, and some red onion, just for garnish. Of course, cornbread is the only thing that we're missing, but I brought, and this is a new addition, I brought another local chef celebrity here. This is Firefighter Faircloth. Everybody knows him as Head. He's going to taste it for us and verify whether you can attest to the superiority of this particular recipe. And careful, I just brought it off the pot there, so it might be a little bit warm. Is that good? Yeah, it's the sirloin and the black bean make everything super, super hearty with the beef broth and everything. It's I think it's a winner every time. Performance Wellness Team, another nutrition tip for you guys. We're also doing a PSA for the community here for kitchen safety. And on behalf of the Performance Wellness Team, happy holidays to everyone. Stay safe, be healthy. We'll see you next time.